Hello everybody, this is Dan Miller from Bluegrass Unlimited magazine, and today I'm going to continue my series of videos on bass runs on the guitar. So far we've covered a bunch of different runs that have walked up to the next chord or another chord in a 1-4-5 progression in the key of G. And again, like I said in the first video, take these to whatever key that you want to do them in and just figure out the same kind of walk using the same relative notes, depending on what key. Like I said, we're going to use the key of G as the Rosetta Stone, and you can transfer that to any other key, again working with a 1-4-5 progression. But the same idea really goes between moving between any chord in any key. You just got to apply the same steps, the same intervals, right? So what we're going to do today is we started with very simple. We added and made it a little bit longer run. We added last week and made it a little bit longer run. Now we're going to look how to vary the timing on those runs. Everything we've done so far has been a quarter note. Last week we did the long run between the G and the C where we went. Okay, those are all quarter notes. Okay. Now you don't have to do quarter notes. You could do eighth notes, you can do half notes, you can mix up eighth notes and quarter notes. You could do a variety of things here, and I just want to show you what that might look like, okay? So eighth notes. So an eighth note run using that same progression going, that's what we did last time. Walking from G to C, we did quarter notes. For eighth notes it would just be, okay, so I just took the eighth note, the quarter note run, and shortened it to eighth note runs. I had to hit it a little bit different timing in the course of the boom strum to get to the next chord. The timing is a little bit different because you're decreasing the time duration of the run. But you can figure that out. Just kind of look at what I did there and figure out how that works out timing-wise, okay? So the next thing would be, you could do half notes. Half notes you would continue to strum in between each note. It would go like this. Again. All right. So that's another thing you could do, which sounds pretty cool. I remember talking about bass runs with my good buddy Tim May years ago, and he said when he was in the band Crucial Smith, sometimes to not get into the way of the bass player, if the bass player was doing runs, sometimes he would not do a run at all. But sometimes if the bass player was doing a quarter note run, he'd throw in an eighth note run or a half note run, so it would be different and it wouldn't really conflict too much. But again, situational dependent on what you want to do there. So now we got eighth note, we got quarter note, and we got half note. And you could do those, any of those runs we worked out before, you could do a similar thing, okay? Now the other thing is to mix these things. So I could go, so that time I went, so I did a quarter note, and then I followed that with eighth notes. You could do an opposite thing where you did eighth note first. Okay, so I did 2 eighth notes, then a quarter note, whereas last time I did a quarter note and 2 eighth notes. And so you could do this to any of those runs, like going back from D to G. So I did quarter note, 2 eighth notes instead of all quarter notes, all right? So look at the runs that we did last time and figure out how you might change from the quarter note runs to either eighth note or half note runs, and then figure out if you can mix those things up. Some are going to work better than others. some will sound cool in certain places. You know, again, you have to experiment, you have to get used to all these, you have to practice them in different situations, and then find out where they might work best. Sometimes playing an eighth note is just going to be too busy. Sometimes playing the half note sounds really cool because it's that long, more long run up to the change, and it leads the listener's ear in at a slower pace going to the next chord. So again, like I've said before, you just got to work with these things, see if you can figure out the best way to work them, where they work best in your songs. But you know, you got to try them and you got to work them, and don't do all the different ones all the time. You know, stick with one until you know it really well, and then later go and mix them up and see how they work. All right. So this is a short video, but this is something that you can take some time working with to see how to change the duration of the notes in your run between quarter notes, half notes, and eighth notes, or a mixture of those things. Okay? So till next time, this is Dan Miller for Bluegrass Unlimited Magazine. Thanks.